here. Okay, so mine's probably going to be, it's a lot more kind of, more of a top-heavy approach, more of an overview. It's not much nitty-gritty here, but I just kind of want to tell a pretty, kind of a nice story about Sudoku 7, how we got there, what we learned, what we did right, what we did wrong. And so just a little background on Smoke Labs. Smoke Labs, we are 5 people, 6 including me, but we're 4 developers, 1 artist. All the developers and the artists are all from Algonquin College. All Algonquin grads. Developers are all out of the game development program, and the artist comes out of their graphic design program. And they're all right around the same age. It's a really nice kind of vibe. Lots of camaraderie, really great spirit, and we started off Smoke Labs. Magmic is our publisher, and Smoke Labs, the impetus for Smoke Labs was John, the CEO of Magmic. He wanted a studio where it could be a lot more flexible, try some new different types of games, things that Magmic, a much larger company, wouldn't really be prepared to do or take on as risk. And with Smoke Labs, we could be more flexible, we could try things that would fit into Magmic's portfolio, as well as try different types of games that Magmic hasn't done, like platform runners and stuff like that. So we got the Smoke Labs team together, and since then we've put out quite a bit of product. So we've put out about 10 products in total. Everything from Artie's Quest for Nuts, which is a side-scrolling platform runner, Fridge Frenzy, which is kind of a Boggle-style game. We did a high-definition kit, which is a way of shrinking the size of your game, packaging graphics onto the server, and then pulling them down after the game has been downloaded. So what this does is, we actually came into a bit of the same problem as Office attacks. I mean, not on the same scale, but you're limited to 40 megabytes. Otherwise, you have to download on Wi-Fi. So in order, the problem with that is you don't capture all of the conspicuous downloading of people on the bus or something like that. So our solution to that was this product we packaged called HDK, where we took all the assets, the Retina assets, put them on a server. You download Artie's Quest for Nuts, and there's a big button that says Upgrade to HD. Press that, all the assets get downloaded in the game. The game balloons from 30 megs to 150, and you can go ahead and play the game. And so that was really helpful to us. And so, like I said, we've been churning out these awesome products. Things have been coming along nicely, and we're working with Magmic. And so Magmic has this title. The New York Times Sudoku, and it does really well for them. New York Times is one of their biggest brands. It drives millions of users to the publishing company, so they've got this title, and the thought on Magmic's part was, well, we've got the code, we built it. What if New York Times decides to leave? Maybe we should churn out our own skin of this. We should reskin this and make it our own. And so what we did, they brought Smoke Labs in. Again, this wasn't really something that necessarily Magmic was going to do themselves. It didn't fit into their roadmap, but at the same time, this was something that fit in with Smoke Labs. We're going to come in. Let's do some experimenting. And so we went in. The idea was we'd go and we'd try and reuse all the code. and we would try and churn this project out. It would be really cheap. We'd just be replacing assets. And what ended up happening was it turned into this pile of shit. And it looks awful. And it actually took us way longer than we had thought, because we were parsing through all this old code. They had interns at one point who had got into the code, and it wasn't a lot of it wasn't documented, and it took way longer than we had planned. We went way over budget with it, and it was really depressing to look at. Like, we're this new studio. We're only about a year old. And we were really proud of the other products we put out. Artie's Quest for Nuts looks awesome. It's fun, really fun to play. Fridge Frenzy, it's got this cool boggle experience. We like it. And we put this out and we're like, ugh, we don't want our name associated with this. And Sudoku is such an easy game to make. Like, you're talking like, we got Coke, so we decided, look, we're going to, Anthony Bonger, one of the developers, beautiful bastard, decided he's going to redo it all and just make a Sudoku game completely from scratch using Cocos 2DX. And the result was gorgeous. I think there's something about, when you get a developer to do a full game and they're not very competent when it comes to graphic design or Photoshop, actually the opposite ends up happening, because you go for this incredibly minimalistic approach to the game. So, going back to that one, it's just what's going on. It's got like a space theme or something going on there. And then here, you've got this lovely flat design, kind of reminiscent of iOS 7 a little, and hence the name Sudoku 7. It's also got some alliteration, which I find nice. And so, the great thing about this was it was built in Cocos 2DX. It made the code incredibly portable. We were able to because of that, we were able to take it to Android and Blackberry 10 quite easily. But the iOS version was the first version we put out, and that was 2 days. It was that quick to put together. 3 days, there's some QA stuff going on, but it's such a basic game, there wasn't really much there. So I think in terms of iOS, the big thing to learn with iOS was it's a great place to start. There were really no hurdles. Screen resolutions and everything worked out really well. We were very familiar with it, very familiar with Cocos. We built all our games previously using Cocos. So it was just an absolute breeze. Moving on to Blackberry 10. Blackberry 10, we've got some experience, quite a bit of experience with Blackberry 10, because we built the Hype Machine app for Blackberry 10, which turned out really well. It's going on almost 300 5-star reviews, awesome amount of downloads. It's a completely free app, but BlackBerry paid for the development, which was nice. And the other thing is, with BlackBerry 10, you fill a product niche quite quickly. There's not all that much in there, and especially when we checked out the Sudoku section on BlackBerry World, there was like 2 other Sudoku apps that had 1 star, and one of them was just a link to a website that said what Sudoku was. And so we got a lot of love from the community for this game. This picture is from Crackberry, which is the biggest BlackBerry website out there. They've written about the app twice now. I don't even know if they know they've written about it twice, but each time they seem to say this is something new. So we got a lot of love from it. We did it really, went really well. The biggest downside for BlackBerry development is obviously there's no community. So anytime you come into a problem on BlackBerry, it is very tough to find an answer. There's no Stack Overflow community around BlackBerry 10. There's the BlackBerry support forums, the developer support forums, which are okay, but we've even found that the developers don't have this sense of giving back to the community like other platforms do necessarily. So when you'll see often what'll happen was some guy will have a problem, then you get 3 other people below him going, yeah, we have the same problem. What's up, man? Did you fix it? And they'll write, yeah. Okay, how? And so we encountered this kind of problem a lot. You just constantly don't have the same, you don't have the same feedback, you don't have the same developer community, so things like that become really tough. But right side, downloads are doing great, community feedback is wonderful. Moving on to Android. I don't know if any of you have seen this graph. This is the Android screen resolution market, graphed out. And there's an old Polish Yiddish word. It's a balagan. It's a total mess. Yeah, right. You know, that was probably the biggest downside when doing Sudoku for Android. You know, you build it out, it would work, everything seems to be going great, and then, you know, you'd pick up one other device, you'd throw it in the simulator, and it would just completely crash, and you can't really figure out what exactly was different about this one device. But I think, you know, generally, the way it was built, Cocos provides, again, a lot of code portability, and we got there regardless. So it's all 3 platforms, which is great. Now, from a kind of a higher level across all 3 platforms, the one thing we did which was really weird, and in hindsight was a big mistake, we added Twitter integration simply for an avatar. That's all it does, and it broke across all platforms. And it was sort of I think it was because we sat there and were like, this is fun, you know, it's a Sudoku game. But you can't just put Sudoku out there, you gotta have something else. So the Twitter integration was supposed to be this easy, kind of fun, customized, you know, make it personalized, and the way the avatar kind of floats in, and it goes along with the overall design of the app. But in hindsight, it was a lot of work for no payoff. It looks nice, but you don't really get much out of it. So I think in hindsight, we would have pushed the Twitter integration out of the app. Design for a child. This is, again, the simplest game. It is so incredibly simple. You go in, there's 3 options. Beginner, medium, hard. Select a puzzle, play the puzzle. The amount of people who couldn't figure that out is astonishing. And there was a few things that we didn't do in the game, like for example, because we were kind of rushing this, the whole point was to challenge ourselves to see how fast we could get this Sudoku game out in the market across all 3 platforms. We sort of took some shortcuts that in hindsight were not sticking to this mantra of design for a 3-year-old. So when the game ends, and if there's an error in the puzzle, for example, it doesn't tell you what that error is. It just says you haven't beat the puzzle. And so people would just go, yeah, I beat the puzzle. Well, because you haven't pointed out the specific error, they would just assume that the game's broken and give it 1 star. If there's a design principle that I can it's so important, design for a 3-year-old, if it's obvious to you, it's not obvious to anyone else, and just make sure that you're building with that in mind. So, moving ahead, we're looking forward to making tons of cashola on this. The download numbers are going quite well. It's a totally free Sudoku game, no ads or anything. The play here is just see how many downloads we can get, and then look to update it with something, you know, really nice down the road, something that people would be willing to pay for. We're looking at subscriptions for more puzzles, very difficult puzzles. Until then, we are incredibly busy building another game, one for Mattel. And so we've put this one on hold just to let the downloads pick up, and that's kind of the roadmap moving forward. Thank you very much. So to get all three together, we're looking at just about a week. So it's incredibly fast. That's with one developer.
Just one.
Yeah, one developer and then QA. QA probably took a while.
Did you ever look at like doing the Windows Phone out of curiosity? I've heard like it has the same kind of thing. There's not as many things, and I know they're throwing money at people to make that sort of phone.
Yeah, I think it would be really tough to get any money from them for something like this.
Yeah.
The conversations we've had with them are build a game, and if we really like it and we think it's worth it, we'll pay you to bring it to the platform. But I think Windows Phone, the only reason, I think we could do Windows Phone. Again, the code is incredibly portable and it's a very basic game. The only reason we didn't was just the publisher has no Windows Phone titles. So for them to deploy Windows Phone, they'd have to set up that whole section of marketing and everything. So we didn't.
So your graphic designer has like no influence or
None.
any contribution?
None whatsoever. All Anthony Bongers, all developer, and again, without a graphic designer, you just go for simplicity and it ends up looking really nice. Cool. Thank you very much.